It's Thursday, May 25. In the headlines in local news, CSEC math paper leak linked to Jamaica. Learn, Grow, Invest, teaching kids financial literacy. In business news, gas and diesel prices increased. Regionally, new judicial platform Just Connect in Barbados, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. Internationally, Russia and China sign new agreements. And in sports, Racers Grand Prix set for June 2023. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Resolutions governing the state of public emergency, now in effect in St. James, Hanover and Clarendon, were tabled at Wednesday's sitting of the House of Representatives. Last week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared a 14-day SOE for those parishes in response to a significant increase in criminal activities. The document was tabled through the Clerk of the House, Valerie Curtis.
The Jamaica Gazette Supplement, Proclamations, Rules and Regulations, Volume 146, dated Tuesday, May 16, 2023, number 121, in which are enclosed the emergency powers for the Parish of Clarendon Regulations 2023 under the Emergency Powers Act.
Wednesday's parliamentary session was unusually short following a hectic National Labour Day on Tuesday, May 23. Jamaica has been identified as the country where the leak of this year's CSEC Mathematics Paper 2 examination originated. That's the word from Caribbean Examinations Council. Registrar and Chief Executive Officer Dr. Wayne Wesley said the Examinations Council has also identified the examination center connected to the leak. As a result of the breach, he said grades will be awarded using a modified approach. He says in a statement, quote, "The modified approach entails assessment of the school-based assessment, which includes paper 3 and paper 1, which is the multiple choice paper. This decision was communicated to the regional ministries of education," end quote. Further investigations to precisely determine the number of countries that would have received the leaked paper. Given the nature of social media, it is expected that the paper would have been shared with other countries in the region. Today, Thursday, May 25, is International Missing Children Day. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, through the Ananda Alert Secretariat, will host a youth forum at the Altamont Court Hotel. The main objectives of the forum are to engage young persons in discussions surrounding their safety and contributing factors to missing episodes, to highlight red flag behaviors and the warning signs of predators, for participants to understand the increased risks associated with going missing, and to develop youth-centered solutions to reduce instances of missing children. Also, improve effectiveness of recovery or intervention efforts. Students representing 15 high schools from across the island are expected to attend the forum, which is aimed at developing youth-centered solutions to addressing the missing children crisis being faced in Jamaica. Ananda Alert Officer at the CPFSA, Anna J. Roberts, said the missing children phenomenon is a complex one that requires a comprehensive strategy of intervention. This month, we salute Jermaine McDonald as a community hero. He's the CEO of faith-based investment company Learn, Grow, Invest. The Learn, Grow, Invest Club is a place to learn about investment and money management, grow in areas of knowledge and skill towards investing, and make wise decisions. He's supported by his wife, Renee, and recently the duo has been extending their knowledge for free to inner city youths. We caught up with them at Tivoli Gardens. The aim is to build a company that aids in the education and awareness of financial products, services, and promotion of good financial management. Mr. McDonald is passionate about sharing his knowledge, but that's not how the journey started. He says as a teenager, he did not save much, but he was always trying to figure out ways to make money.
During Calabar, actually started my own business. So yeah, I left high school straight into my own business, and then at around 2010, I went to university. I was fixing computers on evenings, weekends. I'd spend, the whole night trying to solve a problem, and so I'd be doing that for my classmates, for teachers, and then they would refer persons to me, so I'd be making trips to fix their computers. If they weren't able to pay me, I'd fix it for food. So yes, I remember going over to Portmore to fix somebody's computer for a whole box of pizza. So that was my pay. I just knew that I needed to eat food, and if they were able to pay me in food, I'm good.
So you met your wife. The idea of learn, grow, and invest, was it while you guys were dating, or was it a part of the marital plans?
So actually, I met her through my first business. I met her when I went to fix her computer. So that's how we met. We've been together for 20 years this year, been married for 14 years, and Learn, Grow, Invest is just about 6 years old.
He says Learn, Grow, Invest started with 7 friends, and now it spans thousands across the region. Explain how you serve the community, though, through your business.
We started Learn, Grow, Invest as a community, and what we wanted to do was educate persons on the things that we were learning. So if I learned to manage my money well, I learned to invest, I would want to teach you how to do the same thing.
When you talk about learning the basics, what do you think society is lacking in that regard? Why you decided to go out to these churches and schools and various bodies to educate?
So what we are lacking is that it's not common for a family to talk about money around the dinner table. So my mom, my dad didn't talk to me about money. They told me to save, and that was it. They didn't teach me about investing. They didn't teach me about the power of managing money well. It was either save or get a loan, right? So you save for what you could afford, and then you get a loan for everything else. And it was the same thing for my wife. So we just kind of saw this case where persons were our age and not knowing how to manage their money.
So I noticed that for your projects, it's persons who are under 18 though. So explain this project that you're working on now.
So the project that we're working on now is Math and Money, and that's what's right behind us. And the idea is that we want to plant a seed early in these children, so when they get to our age, they would have had a foundation. It's during these years is when they're forming their perceptions of the world. They're learning about money. They've gotten their lunch money, trying to decide what to do with it. They're thinking about their career. They're thinking about what's next. And so it's a very important stage to help to equip them, because in 3 to 4 years, they'll maybe start receiving a paycheck. And if they don't know about money, they're going to make the same mistakes that we did.
The CEO of Natty Platforms Limited provides technical support.
Is going to take everything that Renee and Jermaine covers in the financial literacy workshop, and we're going to gamify that. Gamify just means that we're going to use things that you'd find in like video games, points, challenges, a leaderboard, all of that, and we're going to create a treasure hunt, right? We're going to create a digital experience using the content from here as well as at the location that we're going. So the kids are going to sit here, they're going to learn about savings, investing, all of that. Then we're going to travel to Heroes Park, where they're going to be placed in groups with tablets and our very own Adventures mobile app. And that's what they're going to use to answer things about the heroes and the persons buried in the park, as well as answer questions with money. So we've seamlessly integrated the financial questions with the history and the culture of Jamaica.
I think he should be considered a community hero, because Jermaine really is about community. He is the one who is in all the chats. We have a Telegram group of over 2,500 persons, and he can be found in each of those subgroups. managing the conversation. He's the one that is trying to bring people together. He's the one who insists that we meet in person every single month, just so that we can maintain that bond and that others can benefit from that mutual relationship. He is genuinely one who cares about others. He wants to elevate others, and he wants to continue being someone who can be looked up to. He consistent, and this is the part that a lot of people don't see. He consistently searches the scriptures, searches his heart, prays about being led well so that he can lead well.
It felt natural for us to do this because we naturally want to give back to people. So we are also, leaders at our church. We teach Sunday school, we teach Bible study. So it's just natural for us to want to help people.
Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
Motorists will see an increase at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, May 25, according to the latest ex-refinery cost from Petrojam. Up by $1.26, 90-octane gasoline will sell for $172.17 per liter, while 87-octane will sell for $168.65 per liter. Increased by 25 cents, automotive diesel fuel will sell for $170.12 per liter. Ultra-low sulfur diesel will sell for $180.87 after a 16 cents increase, and increased by 5 cents, kerosene will sell for $180.97 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will sell for $59.60 per liter, up by 25 cents, and butane liquid petroleum will sell for $67.58 per liter after an increase of 5 cents. Remember that marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markups to these prices. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ says the foreign currency market has remained stable over the last year. BOJ's Governor Richard Biles, while speaking at the bank's quarterly press briefing, says the Jamaican dollar has gained ground on the U.S. currency so far this year compared to the first 5 months of 2022.
The foreign exchange market has remained relatively stable, reflecting in part the actions taken by the bank in response to the higher than targeted inflation. At May 18, 2023, the Jamaican dollar appreciated against the US dollar on a year-over-year basis by 0.4%. This is compared to a depreciation of 3.3% recorded over the same period a year earlier.
Governor Biles further explains how this was possible.
In this context, for the calendar year to date, BOJ sold approximately $398.3 million via its BFixit facility, and a further $10 million to selected public enterprises, including Petrojam. When these sales are set against BOJ's purchases, the result is that the bank net purchased $470.3 million.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, May 24, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.41. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $114.78. The pound sterling traded for $193.66, and the euro sold for an average of $169.86. In JSE trading, the JSE index advanced by 2,988 points. The junior market index advanced by 11 points. The combined market index advanced by 2,890 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 3,546 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 114 stocks, of which 40 advanced, 55 declined, and 19 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and CAC 2000 Limited. Trading firm were Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Siboney Group Limited. The overall volume leaders were Fosterage Company Limited with over 13 million units, Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares, and Derrimon Trading Company Limited with over 4 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, zero securities traded. Zero securities traded on the Barbados Stock Exchange. In regional business, as the cost of telecommunication services in Trinidad and Tobago continue to rise, it is revealed that Caribbean telecom providers are hoping to have a sit-down with major tech operators. Peter Christopher has more.
This sound is a part of many people's after-work wind-down, or their daily routine involves a virtual shopping trip via Amazon, or catching the latest viral trend on TikTok, or the funniest new video on YouTube. It's no secret that local bandwidth is mainly consumed by the largest tech operators in the world, the Googles, Metas, and Amazons. In fact, TSTT CEO Lisa Agard confirms that they account for 67% or 2/3 of the bandwidth used in Trinidad and Tobago. Yet it costs Caribbean providers hundreds of millions of dollars, while these companies profit without paying back a cent.
So collectively in the Caribbean, we invest about $500 million US per annum to expand our data networks, whether it's on the fixed side or on the mobile side. And they make zero contribution.
The growing cost to provide bandwidth has been one of the reasons cited by Digicel in its recent announcement of its third price increase in the past year. Indeed, all local providers have adjusted their prices upward since 2019. The issue is not inherent to the Caribbean, as a 2022 global study revealed that tech giants consumed about 57% of global bandwidth, while providers saw little return from these companies, prompting the European Union to write asking that these companies pay their fair share. Agard explains regional providers are now seeking a similar approach.
We are lobbying big tech through the CTU and ultimately, hopefully, CARICOM, that we could bring big tech to the table to engage in some bilateral negotiations for them to make some contributions to our network development.
The challenges posed by increased bandwidth demand was just one of several challenges touched on by Agard during a workshop entitled Covering Technology, hosted by the Trinidad and Tobago Publishers and Broadcasters Association in partnership with B-Mobile at B-Mobile's Hospitality Suite at the Queen's Park Oval.
In international business, U.S. stocks ended lower as talks between the White House and Republican representatives on raising the debt ceiling dragged on without a deal.
Wall Street's main indexes ended lower on Wednesday as more high-stakes talks between the White House and congressional Republicans still failed to produce a deal on lifting the U.S. debt ceiling. The Dow and S&P 500 each shed roughly 0.75%, while the Nasdaq lost 0.6%. Washington's lack of progress on raising the government's $31.4 trillion debt limit has put investors on edge and roiled markets, with the risk of a government default looming large ahead of a June 1st deadline.
In market data for oil prices fell after Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak played down the prospect of further OPEC Plus production cuts at its meeting next week. Brent crude futures were down 41 cents to $77.95 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude fell 51 cents to $73.83. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, Barbados, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago have been selected to test pilot project of a new judicial system known as Just Connect. The project, which was launched on Wednesday, is an innovative approach to judicial education through an online sharing platform for Caribbean judges. Kimberly D'Souza has more.
Just Connect is a platform providing training reform. Judges in the region can connect for any session.
Chairman of the Judicial Education Institute of Trinidad and Tobago, Justice Gillian Lucky, was not the only legal practitioner singing praises to the new judicial learning platform, Just Connect. The platform has been described as a new paradigm in judicial education and learning as it seeks to build stronger justice systems, improve knowledge and productivity, and serve the people more effectively. Chief Justice Ivor Archie said the platform will deliver a regional approach to judicial education.
We are now grappling with machine learning and generative AI and their implications both for substantive law, evidential reliability, as well as workflow processes. But with those challenges have come better solutions and new opportunities for delivery of the continuing education that is necessary for us to keep pace, to retain effectiveness, efficiency, and relevance.
The program is funded by the United States Department of State's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs. U.S. Ambassador to TNT Candace Bond said the United States will continue to support justice sector strengthening across the Caribbean.
The United States is and shall remain the Caribbean's best and most trusted security partner, and we will continue to work with nations of the region to tackle crime and build law enforcement and justice sector capacity to address violence and crime, and most importantly, hold accountable those who are responsible. May justice prevail and the people be served.
Judicial professionals from 13 Caribbean territories will, among other things, be able to share content with each other, conduct regional meetings of judiciaries, and undertake online training at their own convenience and pace. Kimberly D'Souza, TDT News.
Antiguans and Barbudans are being urged to have more children and have them in the country. The country's aging population means the ratio of active Social Security contributors to pensioners is below what it should be. This means the Social Security retirement age will likely increase further after it reaches 65 in 2 years' time. Jamie Rocha reports.
The Social Security boss says Antigua and Barbuda needs a ratio of at least 10 workers to 1 pensioner to adequately support the program. He says the reality is far from that, about 4 to 1, since the country has approximately 11,000 pensioners and 44,000 active contributors. The program's pensionable age has increased by 1 every 2 years since 2017, and is set to remain at 65 after it gets to that age in 2025. But Matthias says that plan could change.
Actually could very well recommend, which I suspect that it's going to be the recommendation, that we're going to have to move the age maybe to 69 or even 70, right? The reality is that people are living longer.
The Social Security Executive Director says there are ways to reverse the aging population phenomenon, but it won't happen overnight.
You can do like the Nordic countries. They recognize that they had declining birth rates, so they incentivized having children. They gave people significant maternity leave and other inducements so they could start having children. The simple reality is our birth rate has to increase.
He encourages Antiguans and Barbudans to have more children and to have them in the country.
The very purpose for you going to the States, Canada, and the United Kingdom to have a child is that you don't expect that that child is going to contribute to Antigua. You're creating an opportunity for that child away from Antigua. The reality is you're actually building the seeds of our own, that is Social Security and the nation's decline.
Matthias says another way to increase the working population group is simply inviting work-age people from other countries to live in Antigua and Barbuda. Jamie J. Roche, ABS News.
Just shy of a week away from the start of the Atlantic hurricane season, Caribbean countries are preparing. Dominica, one of the hardest hit by natural disasters in recent times, says they've rebuilt with resilience at the center. Crystal Hyatt has that story.
The Caribbean island of Dominica is no stranger to natural disasters, with a Category 5 hurricane destroying over 90% of its housing back in 2017. Today, the country is still recovering, but Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt says it's building back better.
With regards to resilience, we look at the infrastructure. So in terms of the construction of our bridges, we employ new engineering practices and techniques, and we believe that they're working. In our road construction, we have also employed new engineering techniques and methods. Our homes, where we have focused heavily on resilience building, because what we want to have, my friend, is that every home in Dominica, every house in Dominica can be treated as a hurricane shelter.
Prime Minister Skerritt says the implementation of stronger building codes was needed and is urging other Caribbean islands to build with resilience in mind.
I think Dominica can be used as a case study. I think Caribbean countries need to study what happened in Dominica and what has been our response. Because the reality is, every one of our countries in the Caribbean is at risk and is vulnerable to natural disasters. And it doesn't have to take a Category 5 hurricane. It could take a Category 1 hurricane, Category 2, Category 3.
Within its building codes, Dominica has stipulated the use of heavier galvanized and hurricane straps.
We are in a much better position now than we were in 2017. And I believe, by the grace of God, that if God forbid we were to be visited by a hurricane, Dominica will be in a much better place to withstand the impact of a hurricane on us.
The Atlantic hurricane season begins in a few days. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
In international news, Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin has met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. The two countries are deepening cooperations despite Western criticism that China is not doing enough to push Russia to end its war in Ukraine.
Beijing rolled out the red carpet for Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, the highest-ranking Kremlin official to visit China since Russia invaded Ukraine. Beijing is strengthening ties with Moscow despite criticism from the West. Meeting President Xi Jinping on Wednesday, Mishustin said relations had reached an unprecedented high. The two sides signed agreements to deepen cooperation in trade, services, agriculture, and sports. On Tuesday, Mishustin opened a business forum in Shanghai, attended by about 500 Russian delegates. Trade between the two soared by 30% in 2022. Mishustin says it could reach $200 billion this year. With plans to increase Russian exports of grain and energy and manufacture more Chinese cars in Russia. Moscow is increasingly using the yuan and sells oil and gas to Beijing at a bargain price. Analysts say Russia is more dependent on China than ever before.
It's definitely fair to say that it's an unequal partnership for sure. It's important to remember that even prior to the Ukraine invasion, the Russian economy was orders of magnitude smaller than the Chinese economy. And now that a lot of it's been shut out of Western markets, China has become an increasingly important buyer for Russian energy.
But while there are benefits, there are also liabilities. The friendship has damaged Beijing's reputation in Europe, and China's special envoy is now working to repair it. This past week, Li Hui has visited Ukraine, Poland, and France. Officials say his tour is a mission of peace, though Kiev says it won't accept any ceasefire that involves losing territory to Russia. The visit follows the G7 summit in Japan, where Western leaders repeated condemnation of Russia's invasion, something Beijing has refused to do, saying it's neutral in the conflict.
In sports, it will cost about $1 million to stage the premier athletics event Racers Grand Prix next month. The event's organizer, Glenn Mills, has already received commitments from some of the world's top athletes that they will compete, and he's hoping to attract more sponsors to prevent the meet from falling off the calendar. The meet, scheduled for June 3 at the National Stadium in St. Andrew, has three main sponsors, one of which is the Ministry of Sport through the Sports Development Foundation. The other main sponsors are equipment partner Adidas and a sponsor of Mills's Racers Track Club and Locksley Watch Company Richard Mill. However, Mills said that while Adidas has increased its sponsorship this year, the watch company's funding has lessened. And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thank you so much for watching.